welcome back to It's an Inside Job podcast. I'm your host, Jason Lim. Now, this podcast is dedicated to helping you to help yourself and others to become more mentally and emotionally resilient so you can be better at bouncing back from life's inevitable setbacks. Now, on It's an Inside Job, we decode the science and stories of resilience into practical advice, skills, and strategies that you can use to impact your life and those around you. Now, with that said, let's slip into the stream. Well, folks, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to It's an Inside Job. I'm your host, Jason Lim. This week, I have a special episode for you guys. I have one of Norway's top jazz singers in the house with me today. She's recognized here in Norway, but also internationally. Her name is Silje Nergaard. Silje is a multi-award-winning Norwegian jazz vocalist and has made a significant mark on the global stage with 20 albums since her 1990 debut. Her career ignited at the age of 16 during a spontaneous performance with the Jakob Pastorius band, leading to immediate recognition as Norway's emerging jazz talent. Her first single, Tell Me Where You're Going, featuring guitar legend Pat Metheny, soared to international acclaim, especially in Japan, where it topped charts and inspired a wine named after her. At First Light in 2001, Norway's best-selling jazz album ever includes the hit Be Still My Heart, cementing her status in jazz. With a Grammy-nominated album, 1,000 True Stories, and collaborations with stars like Al Jarreau, Pat Metheny, Nergaard's distinct voice and style have left an indelible imprint on jazz. So in today's conversation, Silje is going to dive deep into the heart of creativity and resilience and the undulating journey of a creative career. Silje opens up about the intrinsic power of inner creativity as the true compass in navigating the unpredictable terrain of artistic endeavors, with candid reflections on dealing with rejection, the importance of maintaining a connection to one's creative core, and the disciplined pursuit of inspiration. This conversation offers invaluable insights into the essence of being a creator. We are also going to explore the significance of self-worth rooted in the creative process, the discipline behind tapping into one's artistic energy, and the grace of self-compassion through the creative highs and lows. So now let's slip into the stream and meet Silje Nergaard. Hey, Silje, welcome to the show. A lot of people in Norway know you, and probably internationally too, but irregardless, I was wondering if you could introduce yourself and what you do.
I am Silje Nergaard. I am a singer and a composer, and I have been traveling around the world with my music since, I must say maybe about 30 years now. And I mainly work in the international jazz scene. Yes, I'd say that's a summary. I've released 20 albums and still working on new songs. So this has been my profession and my life for the last...
You've got quite a history of 20 albums. Is there a favorite that kind of pops out into your mind, your own personal favorite?
Yeah, when people ask me things like that, I don't have an immediate answer, but I remember always the ones that were like the first one in some, like the very first one, of course, which was like doing it for the first time was very special. I remember the first one I did in Norwegian, a few things like that, and also one with the Metropole Orchestra that I did that I'm very proud of. It was the first time with an orchestra. So all these things that you've never done before, it was very, very exciting. I like my job. It's very unpredictable, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And I'm sure your rise to the pinnacle of your profession hasn't always been easy. And I think I wanted to have you on, Silje, because we have a mutual friend, Jennica. And at the same time, I'd like to explore your career But I think from the perspective of a lot of young people are going to be listening to this, or young talents, and they're coming through whatever it is. It may be music, maybe they're an athlete, maybe they specialize in some specific discipline. But for them, it's a long road. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of, roadblocks and things that they have to deal with, mindsets and injuries and what have you. And I think part of this conversation I'd like to explore with you is understanding how you have come through your own adversity, how you deal with challenges and upsets. But at the same time, I think part of talking about resilience is how do you deal with success? Because a lot of people, when success is thrust on them, they don't know how to use it, or they don't know how to adapt to it. I was wondering, in your career, I mean, what have you found that's been kind of hard for yourself to get through? I mean, is there a story we can begin and kick off this conversation with?
Well, when I think, I mean, I'm still doing this, and there's been doors closed, doors open. That's on the outside field, right? And so in the beginning, maybe I thought that, if they reject me, then, it might, that's it. But I think I early on learned that the motor, the engine is within me. And I learned early that when you close your door into your creativity, when you lose your passion, when you don't have anything more to say, that's when the door is going to close for you. But as long as you have something on your mind and something you want to create and share, in some way you have the energy to get it through. But I learned that I had to be prepared that it would be a bumpy road. And as you said, sometimes when you have success, you go downhill and then it stops and you go uphill again. And as long as you're connected to your inner creativity, which is the real reason why you're in this crazy game, as long as you can connect and go into that world and put a light on that, then you can always kind of find back to the energy within you to be in those periods. This is how I learned to live with it. Because, of course, for me, I'm not starting out, but when I look back, of course, it hasn't always been easy, or I've had to, push myself through a little bit sometimes, That's what the game is.
And you started your career around 16, 17 years old. Is that correct?
I started off by writing songs when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. We had a piano, and then I just wrote little songs and then started to sing in a choir in my hometown. And then I got the microphone and I had the solo. And from then on, I started I was interested in jazz because I grew up in a house with jazz, but also all kinds of music, ABBA and everything, pop. But I learned that, I was learning I didn't learn about genre because they were all in my house. My parents loved music and my father played the guitar. So I was singing a lot with him. And when I finished school at 19 or 18, then I moved to Oslo. And the plan was to study music, but I dropped that plan because I was full of energy, and I started a band instead. And I started, in some way, I made myself out there touring in little clubs.
Okay. Because coming back to your sort of the connecting with your inner creativity, as you said, you've been in the game for about 30 years and, you've built knowledge and wisdom and ways of, dealing with success and adversity. But as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, how was it for you? I mean, obviously you had to face challenges, and sometimes those challenges, you took a hit, maybe psychologically, or you felt a little down or a little um, defeated sometimes. You know, as the woman I'm talking to now, you have all that experience to reflect on, and you can pull that to help you, you know, brace the storm. But back then, you know, as the young woman, how did you deal? How did you find the inner creativity? Did you sometimes lose it? Was there someone that helped you? I was wondering if you could maybe walk us through maybe what you did when, if you can reflect back.
Well, I remember I was having an inner drive, and I was not afraid of approaching people. And that is, I think, a very important part of my voyage, in a way that I met people, and I was not afraid to approach them and ask them for advice, or if they would play with me, or I wasn't afraid of people, and I think I wasn't afraid of a no, because I didn't mix the no's from people, the people rejecting me. They might say, I don't want to help you. I didn't connect that to me as a person. In some way, I was a bit confident about myself, and I was thinking, okay, I still think that song is good. If you don't want to play my song, it's still. So that, I think, helped me a lot, not to take it so personal.
What's good, y'all? So on today's episode, I want to talk about post-athlete career depression. One thing that's very common that's not really talked about is what an athlete goes through when their career is over. I don't care if it's high school, college, or at a professional level. We all reach a level where there's a depression and we're trying to find the next move. But not only that, we're trying to find our identity as well. So with all that being said, on this episode, this is the discussion. If you don't know who I am the host of the show and this podcast, Push 100 Miles Per Hour, and my name is Ramon Clemente. Let's get into the show. Push.
This is all for you, to my people out there still trying.
I think that's a very interesting sort of the mind talk. The thing that you told yourself is that when you got a no, you didn't take it as a personal hit. And that separation between the no, it was no to the request and not no to you as the person. And that kind of shielded you, that kind of, that fortified you, that made you resilient in that sense.
I think I rehearsed it with the boyfriends. When I was rejected, I said, "Oh, well, sorry for you."
You're lost.
Yeah, you're lost. Okay.
But that's very interesting. That's very interesting. And so as you progress and such, so you had the courage to approach people, to talk to people, to ask them if they'd like to jam with you or play with you. And if they said no, you didn't take it personal. It was a no to the request and not no to the person. And this kind of has fortified you over the years and allowed you to keep going.
Yes.
That's very interesting.
I think this is, when I think about it now, and I have an idea in my head now, but I'm thinking, where am I going to start talking to who? And then that person may, help me through to another who, or, I work in a way, I work in a personal way. And to me, that's more inspiring than, and also that's what makes things happen, because I've learned that if I wanted to ask somebody of my heroes, and I've been performing with a few of my big heroes, like Al Jarreau and Pat Metheny and Morten Harket from AHA. But he lives down the road, so that I would meet him in the cafe. So, but I could never get any of those by going through a management, because I was not Beyonce for them. I was just, I would have to approach them personally, and I would have to have a personal, a musical idea that was good. I think it's always about not me saying, hey, wouldn't it be great if we worked together? No, it would be, hey, look, I have a song and I've written it with you in mind. I feel that you're all over it. And can you listen to it? Because it would have been great. And I always thought that in music, we're all equal. I know that some of us are more successful and some are very famous and some are not, but you're still in the music, in the art. We all meet in the same place. So if I was able to touch them with my song and they knew that it came from an honest place in me, then maybe that would be a way to make a nice cooperation. And that worked. But I had to approach them. So you need to go, I think, use your, be the whole human being while you want something.
I think that's a very interesting you're saying, because as you said, when you approach a person, it's not about you per se, but as you said, you wrote a song with a person in mind and you asked them to listen to it and what they think. I think that's a very strong character or character trait that a lot of people are trying to develop, because obviously you have to show a sense of vulnerability. You have to go to the courage to approach your heroes, your idols that you've seen, all these three people you've mentioned. And obviously, but I'm curious because I think that's very, very interesting, because that would suggest that you have a very strong mindset, that there's not the fragility there, because a lot of people can be very scared to approach, especially famous people, if we can characterize them that, to help them or to play with them. And so where do you think you picked up this mindset? Was it something you picked up from your parents? Is it something that's always been part of you, Silje?
Yeah, I've been wondering, because people do actually ask me, oh, how did you dare, and how did you have the courage to do this and that? And for me, it wasn't that I was thinking I was courageous, but again, I felt that I was connected to some self-worth, that I thought, oh, I know the feeling when I got a no and I got disappointed, but I didn't put that into the world. That didn't become me as a person being rejected. So in some way, I've always felt that I am loved. Mm-hmm. In some way, I felt that I am loved, although he might not or she might not want to do this. I'm still okay. And I'm not, I mean, that's probably a fortunate thing, since that I have with me already from my childhood, that I felt connected to some place inside that was protected.
Protected, yeah. Protected,
yes,
yeah.
A protected place that was where the...
So inside of you, just to understand, so inside of you, you felt there was an inner part of you that was shielded from sort of negativity or criticism, and this protection or this shielding around your self-worth, it allowed these negative bullets to kind of bounce off, and it didn't affect you. You learned to shield yourself from the negativity or the rejection.
It affected me because you get sometimes disappointed and that don't work out and they become hard and difficult. But I would always go back to this place, which also is the place of creativity. So, and also when things didn't, like sometimes in your career, you don't feel that you are very important out there. You know, maybe you make an album and nobody, not many people heard it or wrote about it, or maybe didn't do well, you know, and that's the same thing. If you make that become you, not being, you know, you have to protect that part and always come back to, you know, where did it all start? It started within me, and this is my creativity, and this is my gift, and this is the reality of being a creative person, that it's, you know, don't do it. I didn't start it off to become successful. It would be great if it was, but it's not that makes me create. It's the creativity itself, and that it must be a shielded place.
So I understand what it is. It's in the creation of an album. That's where the creativity lies. That's where the value lies. That's the effort that you put in. And it's not the outcome of how many sales or how many people listen to it. I mean, that's important. That's great. But that outcome is not linked, or you separate the outcome, and that's not linked to your self-worth. Your self-worth comes into the effort or the creativity or the songwriting, what you do to put it all together. And the outcome is just the outcome. How it plays out is important, but it's not as important as affecting your self-worth. Is that what I understand?
No, because the outcome is out of my control, right? So the creating of the music, it's what it's all about. And that part is what makes me feel genuinely like in contact with why I do this in the first place. So it's the process. It's the process that's important. But of course, I'm not a robot. So if nobody was going to listen to my albums for 20 albums, of course, it would have affected me in some way. But it's less, it's an other part of it. And then you have to deal with other parts of you when you come to that.
And so I'm just curious, how do you, maybe you can walk us through to the detail you can. How do you tap into your inner creativity? How do you go into that shielding and sort of into your self-worth, into your inner creativity? Is it something you say? Is it a certain emotion? Is it a ritual or a routine you do?
Oh, interesting. I never had that question.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, wow. I think that's just setting I have. I think, I've always, in some way, I remember from also a child, I've always been happy leaving something or some place, or if I didn't feel, I was leaving for going back to my home place, Yesterday I actually left the concert because I didn't enjoy it. But I left it because I feel that, hey, I need to, I have to go back to my own, like the world of my own.
Yeah. I'm
doing it in different ways all the time. And it's like, I like to be with me in my world. And that's always it's a lot of energy in there. It's a lot of, it's bubbling. It's exciting. It's a bit of a magic, to go into that shielded place. And I could do it anytime, or I could physically just leave. And I think in some way, this made me a bit protected to the outside, whatever was going on. I knew that I could go and get my energy and my, positive thinking, and my fantasy would be, yeah.
So,
I don't know how to express this in English.
No, you've expressed it quite well. So your inner self, that beyond in the shielding, going back to your self-worth, there's a bubbling, there's an energy, there's a vibrancy that you can turn into. So even if the world outside is chaotic or crazy, you can go back into yourself and find that sort of, that centeredness, that sort of gravitas where you feel grounded, you feel... Yes. You feel the energy and the bubbling, and that kind of feeds you. Is it something you sometimes say to yourself, like, Silje, like if something's going crazy outside, whatever environment, like a bad concert or whatever, do you kind of think, I'm out of here? Or, okay, I mean, do you say something to yourself to kind of go in? Or is it just sort of you've done it so long that it's just an automated habit that just happens automatically?
I never said that to myself, no, because, and you're the first one to ask me about it. So it's just, I'm connected to it and I can go there, and then everything is justified. It's okay. It's like I have a light shining in, and it will always be shining there. That doesn't mean that it's always bubbling a creativity there. because I've also had periods when we talk about creating and stuff, then I've always had periods, and just now, actually a couple of years, where I have not been writing. And that's also interesting, not to punish myself for that. And also I know that if this is, a subject for the conversation, that when you don't create, it's also an interesting place to understand that you create while you don't create, if you are a creative person. But I've learned to also be a bit kind to myself if I'm not producing all the time. And I think there's a reason for that.
So what I hear is when you're not creating, when you're not writing, when you're not scripting songs, that's okay. You show yourself self-compassion. You don't have to constantly be performing or creating new material, that it's okay to take a break and pause for a while. Is that what I understand?
Yes, but of course there is an inner, like a fear. I've always had that fear that was saying, oh, now it's over. Now you can't write a song again. So I'm always a little bit connected to that. Oh, now that's it. So it's not comfortable. I think many people that write in books or whatever, and then don't write, they think maybe it's over for good. And I always feel that too. But another part of me is thinking, it's like I say, like Joni Mitchell, no, it's not gone. It's just gone underground.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
Yeah, I use that sentence a lot and then I choose to believe that it's bubbling and something is going on there, and I'm not really part of it, but it's going to show, because I look for it in some way, and then it's going to show, it's going to come back.
So over your 30-year career, this fear of this was my last song, or I can't write again, it kind of bubbles up. But then there's another part of you that says, no, we keep going. And you go back into the inner creativity, into that sort of self-worth, and that allows you to override that fear. Is that what I understand?
Yes. And I also learned that it's a muscle. It's a muscle, like running and everything. It's a muscle. You have to keep it, keep it strong. And I learned that because I don't believe all that much in being inspired.
Okay. Can you expand on that?
Yes. Well, I thought maybe in the early years that, to write songs, it's like waking up in the middle of the night and it's like lighting a candle, and then there's this great line. Then you write The Long and Winding Road or something in the middle of the night. For me, it became, I need to find it. I need to search for music and the melodies. And if I'm right now sitting here waiting for me to be inspired, I'm not going to walk to that piano. So I need to make a decision that this is what I do. And then I sit down and I just play and I record, and I can be super bored, actually. But the way I work is I just record maybe for like half an hour or something, record melodies, and then I just keep creating, and then later on I would listen to it and see if there's a little line, little melody that has some magic to it, and then I will start composing around it. But I just wanted to, I've learned, for me at least, that I can't expect that it's going to be, I'm so inspired, I'm going to go to my piano. No, it's about, this is actually my job. I write songs. And I have a muscle writing songs. And now when I was starting to write a song after 2 years, my muscle was so, I got so exhausted from saying, how do you do this? I'm going to have to think about the whole thing. And then that was very interesting. I was out of it. So, and I remember I had a period when I lived in London for 2 years that I had hit single when I started off, and then everybody wanted me to write another hit single, which is really not a good, that doesn't make the creativity bubble up because
Yeah,
you
sure.
have the pressure. So I stopped writing, and then one evening, but I did do a little bit for my self-respect. I went to the piano a little bit every morning and just recorded a few lines and little melodies just for 5 minutes, just to feel that I did something right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was super boring. And I felt I didn't feel it wasn't very happening, but I recorded it. And then one evening I saw a program on TV with Elton John and Bernie Taupin. And Bernie Taupin is his lyricist. And
Okay.
they wrote like all the songs, like Your Song and Daniel and all these classic. And they had this fantastic thing in cooperation. And I watched that show or the TV program, and I was super inspired. And I felt, now it's coming back to me. I'm so inspired. And I sat down, I was writing, for 2 hours and recorded that. And I felt that was great. Thank you, it's back. And then I listened to it the next day. And that was what I did that evening. It made no sense. There was nothing that was interesting about it. But the little things I did every day when I was bored and felt worthless, then I found some beautiful, magic little phrases.
Mm.
So that was I was learning that to be beruset, how do you say that in...
Drunk?
Not drunk, but when you're like...
Oh, yeah, but drunk on passion or...
Yeah, I was drunk on, oh my God, I feel so inspired. But that fooled me. I wasn't doing any. So that's what I'm saying. I don't really believe in that kind of inspiration. You need to find it again within. But of course, it helps to have an idea and a retning.
A direction.
A direction. That also is, I think, for me, very good. But once you have an idea, which hopefully is an inspiring idea, you need to think of it as a muscle, and you need to do it every day, regardless of how, bored or how you might feel about it.
I think there's two things there that are very important. The first is you did not let your mood dictate your action, meaning that, if you were a little uninspired, you would still go up and do something for 5 or 10 minutes. And I think the other thing that I found very fascinating, which is a very healthy cognitive skill, is the idea of discipline. It's the idea of getting up. So even if you don't feel inspired, if you don't feel motivated, if you don't feel the hunger to do it, you got up. Even if it was just 5 minutes, you wrote something, you hit the keys, you did whatever. Yeah. But it was a consistency and a predictability in which you established a mental habit at a certain time or a certain point of the day, you would get up, irregardless of your mood. I think those two separate things, as you said, that ability to get up was like building a muscle. You kept it strong, you kept it lean, you kept it tense. I just wanted to parse that apart because I think those are two very important things, because a lot of us dictate our actions based on our mood. So if I'm motivated, I'll go for a run. If I'm not motivated, I'm not going to go for a run. But why not? Because you had a shitty day, Jason? No, get up and go. Is that what I understand you're saying?
Yes, right. So the run will be the one that dictates your mood again, right? If so, the action, it needs to be just an action, not put a lot of things into it. I don't feel you just do it because you just do it. And at least do it for a little while. You don't have to be like nazi but that's me. I guess I also think that when you do it for a little while, you have a self-respect about it. And then I think subconsciously, your creativity works the rest of the day, because we create while we don't create. I write songs, and I spend many months on a song. And I know that when I write a little bit, I need the time to be away for it, because it sort of develops within me as I walk, as I do my dishes. I need that, it's a long, like an reise.
Yeah, it's a journey, right? It's a sojourn. Mm.
So the subconscious need to make some decisions. And then, so I need to do it over time. And that's so interesting, because I also respect the non-doing part of being creative.
In the first part of the episode, Silje shares profound insights on navigating the unpredictable journey of a creative career. Emphasizing the significance of inner creativity, she reveals that understanding and tapping into this internal engine, while it's crucial for enduring the inevitable rejections and setbacks. The journey is depicted as a series of ups and downs, where maintaining a connection to one's creative core, well, it's essential for sustained motivation and resilience. Our discussion further explores how Silje developed a healthy perspective towards rejection, distinguishing it from personal failure and instead viewing it as part of the process. This mindset was bolstered by an inherent confidence and a deep sense of self-worth, rooted in creativity rather than external validations, such as sales of her albums or the popularity or how many listeners listen to her album. She credits a lifelong feeling of being loved and an inner sanctuary of creativity that offers protection and inspiration, allowing her to consistently return to her creative origins and to maintain her self-worth independent of external outcomes. Tapping into creativity is described by Silje as a deliberate and disciplined practice akin to exercising a muscle. Silje emphasizes the importance of daily routines such as playing the piano to foster creativity regardless of mood or immediate inspiration. This disciplined approach helps her discover magical moments and phrases in music, underscoring that dedication and discipline are key to nurturing creativity. Self-compassion is highlighted as an important aspect of her process, allowing her kindness towards oneself during less productive periods without fear of permanently losing creativity. Now, this balanced approach to creativity, resilience, and self-compassion, well, it outlines a holistic approach, a holistic perspective on navigating a career in the arts, focusing on the journey and the process over the final product or outcome. So now let's slip back into the stream for part 2 with the vibrant Silje Nergaard. And that's like going for a ski or going for a run, something that's not around songwriting per se, but you're doing something completely else. That might be exercise or it might be whatever.
Just being in your day. Mm-hmm. Just being in your day. That thing will live in you while you do your dishes, or it will live in you. And I think you can't always, and then if you can't push a decision on something. And I'm sure writers also and will acknowledge this, that I can't see if this word or that word is better, but I leave it, and it'll subconsciously it'll come through.
I think that's fascinating. So let me understand. So you'll write down some thoughts for a song or put down some notes and such. And that's the initial stage. You have that creative process. But part of the creative process is not being creative.
Yes.
That's going about your day. And so what I hear you saying, Silje, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you allow your mind to kind of, like you're focusing on something else, but your subconscious, your unconscious mind is kind of grinding away, playing with what you've inputted. And then the next day, it becomes an iterative process. You come back and you might fix things, you might change things, you might eliminate things or what have you. And you do that for a while, but then you're at peace with that. And then you walk away and so it repeats where you're doing something, you're creating something, and then you take a break, understanding that a lot of the creative process happens on the non-conscious level. Is that what I'm kind of picking up?
Yes. That's a very important part of getting to the goal of it, like getting the song done. I know I can't make all the decisions there. So for me, I use walking a lot, and I could also bring the music in the headphones, and I can listen to it while walking, because I think that while you walk, you're not focusing on the song, but I listen to it and I walk, and then something reacts in me that I'm not. I'm not in charge of the reaction, because I'm walking. I'm doing something else, and then I react, and then and then maybe I do that again and again. It's like, oh, that's the answer. So sometimes I just listen to it in my head, the song, or I bring it on headphones while I walk. So I don't make decisions. I just let it sort of develop while doing other things.
I find that fascinating, especially in the context of, today's world where young people are bombarded by social media. And what I hear you, Silje, says, you're constantly focused on the process, on the creativity, understanding it's not a snap of the fingers, that it's something you come back to time and time again, correct, eliminate, add, what have you. And that you're focused on the process, the journey, the sojourn, and the outcome. Although the outcome's important, as you articulated earlier in this conversation, and there are so many factors that can influence that outcome, you can't connect. And it's not healthy for you to connect your self-worth based on that outcome. If it's success, great. You feel elated. But if it doesn't work out, you feel, but you don't sit with it. You don't stew in the negative emotions or the uncomfortable emotions. You learn from that. Mm-hmm. I just want to kind of bridge, a lot, because of social media, the number of likes or the hearts or whatever, we can, and I think it's some sort of social engineering from these companies, that a lot of people base their self-worth, their net value, based on how many people have seen their post or liked and such. I was wondering, how do you see yourself or younger musicians in this light of social media and such?
Yeah, when I talk about my creativity and my life, it's, I grew up without the social media. So there was another piece in the surrounding around me. And I must say, the first thing that you lose from the social media is to be focused over time, and because it can be very boring. And if you now grow up and you're bored, you can just push a button and you're entertained. So you lose that part of it, that when you sit and you're so bored, and that is a muscle you need to bring in while you are creative. You have to be bored. You have to sit with it. So I can see that as a first, sign of how are they going to, keep that consistency? Is that what you say? Yeah.
Yes.
And also, that's why I'm not sure what I can tell the young people. I have a daughter, and she's a great talent. As a singer, and I don't know what I can advise her to do, except for saying, you have to row your own boat the rest of your life. You have to row your boat, and how you do it, that's really up to you. But I know that she's disturbed by so many a noise, that I was protected. I was more quiet around me. I was starting off. I didn't have to get the heart or the thumbs up to feel I was, because there was no place I could share my things like she would do, right? So I think that is, you have to have a very strong inner world to be now, to store it, to be.
You have to stand up to the criticisms or the light, and
because you get it. And They have to be so like they have to be so great at everything so quickly. I have an example for I was a talent and the Norwegian broadcast thought I was a talent, so they let me come on television, and I was singing again and again. I had the chance to perform a song, but I was holding my microphone in front of my nose, and they said, and then again I tried to put it down but I forgot it. And when I look at it, I was like, they let me do that. And I didn't look very professional, but but I still got the chance to come back and sing a song at NRK with I was hiding my face. But now when I look at the young kids and they're on TV for the first time, they're already professional. They know where to look. The camera is there to left and right, and they move right, and they wear the right clothes, and it's all like. So if I was now, I would have been cut off. I wouldn't have had the chance to keep going. And that's a bit sad, right? Because I had a personality, but I wouldn't have fit into the frame of being, perfect in all the other ways. So I think it's a lot of things that it's demanding if you're going to.
No, I think that you made such a valid point, because I remember during COVID and everyone was kind of stressed out and they were going on social media, and we can call it doom scrolling or detoxing from news, and sometimes that's what you need to do, is just like turn off the apps and such. And again, that's easier to say than to do, because these doom scrolling or looking for constantly the outcome of things, how many likes I get, that actually eats at the self-worth. That shielding that you have, Silje, around your things, that's almost like if it was rusting, right? It was falling apart. And I think I think we were very fortunate to be born in the last millennium, and we were, the world was just in a way where there was no immediate gratification. There wasn't immediate, I can post this, I can do this, I get these likes, right? And I find it, even with my own kids, I've been able to minimize, and my wife, how much social media they have, but you can't control that. I mean, they are teenagers and they will do it, but I'm constantly having this conversation with them. And it comes back to a lot of the elements you talked about. It's like, focus on the process, focus on the effort. If my kids come home and say, Dad, I didn't do too well on the math test, and I'll ask them, that's okay, but how do you feel about the effort you put in? Dad, I really, really tried hard and I studied, but I still didn't make the grade. And I said, the grade at the end of the day, everyone's going to forget that, a year from now. But what's important is, I think, coming back to what you said, Silje, I go up to the piano, or I write the notes, or I write some songs 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Even though I don't have the mood, I do it. But it's the effort, because what it sounds like, you've built up a mental habit over years, the discipline, the consistency, which adds to the creativity. Because from what I understand, creativity, I guess in some cases it just pops up. But you're saying the quality of your work came through the consistency, and like that Elton John TV show you saw, you thought you were inspired, but the next day it's like, what is this?
I was fooled by my inspiration, the feeling of being high,
Yeah.
But talk about the phone thing. It's made us addicted, or the children are addicted to it, and I can't blame them, because that's how they made these apps, right? So the only thing I can say to the young people is that you have to put your phone in another room. Because I don't blame them for, like, oh, I'm bored, I'm searching for my phone, because that's also a muscle you're used to, right?
Well said.
So the only way you can be free is to actually turn it off or put it in another room. Then you protect yourself physically from the interruption.
Well, if we just shift the conversation, when it comes to stress and pressure, how do you deal with sort of mounting stress and pressure and the uncertainty that your field has? you need to perform. Like, as you said, when I had to write that second single hit, you know, how do you deal with sort of that sort of external pressure on you sometimes? And maybe it's like, okay, how's this going to play out? How are people going to think? Or is this coming back to what we've already discussed?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, I have this shielded place I can go to, but I've also learned when it gets, pressure means to me overload of information that you can't deal with it because it's a bit messy, right? That's what I think is pressure it's too many,
too many inputs coming in.
Yeah, So I think I'm trying to learn to go from A to B to C to D to read it up to make it a bit more tidy, and then when people are like screaming like, yeah, you got to do this and that, and then I try to think of it as I will get to the last letter in the alphabet, but I just try and focus on the A, and then to the B. I just try to.
So you focus on the closest step, the closest letter. You're not worried about the end game. You're just focused on what you have to do now to get to the next step.
Yeah. So I trust the process.
You trust the process.
Yes.
Trust the process. No, I that's a very good quote. Trust the process.
Yes.
But is this the process that you've had to learn over the time? Is it something that your parents taught you? Is it something that, again, came naturally to you just through experience, trial and error?
I know I didn't learn this from my parents. I think it's something that is within me because I have a creativity. I have something to share. I have a mission. I think I'm born with, a mission to share and to make these songs. That's my talent. I was given this. And that very early became a world I connected to.
You received lots of success at an early age. And sometimes success can bowl people over. It can knock them over. They don't know how to deal with it. How have you dealt with repeated successes over your life, over your career?
Well, success, it looks very, when you see somebody in paper or on TV, it just looks like success. But that's just a little glimpse of what you do that day, right? So I've always felt that this is right now it's a lot of good news, but I do the same thing every day. Maybe it's easier for me to make a phone call and people will be positive and stuff, but it's not like when you have a success, you just cool it in between you just do the I like that saying, Frank Sinatra, I think, that somebody asked him then how about his success and how he just suddenly just had this success.
Yeah.
And how that was for him. And he said, well, it took me 15 years to have this success. So it's so much behind it all the time. So when you look at Beyonce, she's a success, but she's working so hard every day. Those people are just like so devoted. Yeah.
I think that's very interesting what you're saying, because, sometimes you see some musicians and it just goes straight to their head, or athletes or rock stars or whatever. It goes straight to the head and you can just see how their ego just blows up. But what I hear is someone who's quite humble. You go back to the routine. You go back to the process. The success, yes, it was a highlight that day, a highlight that year, month, what have you.
Yeah.
But that's something you celebrated then and there. But what's important for you is that, okay, that's a feather in my cap, but I go back to the process and there's always the next step. Is that what I hear?
Yeah, you go back to the heart of everything.
I think that's also a very important thing of self-worth is to stay humble. Because through staying
Yeah.
humble, that means you understand that you'll make mistakes, but you also understand that you can learn, adapt, and evolve to different situations. And then that in itself gives you the mental fortitude or resilience. Next challenge. Is that what I understand your mindset is about?
Yeah, I feel very humble. And I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just trying to put something into the world and to try to connect in some way to people. And of course, to be humble is important. We have to be open. And also, when I work with musicians and stuff, we are all very open to each other. And I also get a lot of energy from other musicians and their input into my music. So I've always respected other people's ideas, and I always reached, I always had great musicians because I knew they would contribute something that would higher my music or lift it up to another level. So I'm very humble about what I can, how other artists or musicians can color what I've created.
Yeah, I guess that is the creative process, right? You put out something like that and someone can bend the idea, break the idea, blend the idea and create something and they spit it back to you and you do the same thing. And what you have is a permutation of minds playing with whatever it is, a song piece or I find that very interesting. If I could just go back to your inner creativity, this has nothing to do with resilience or anything. I'm just curious. I've read, different poets and authors and musicians where they say sometimes that, you know what, I was just the conduit of this piece. Something else created this. It was a product that Silje or John or Jack or whoever made. But they sometimes have described that, yeah, it just came to me. It just some. Have you felt that yourself? I'm always curious about that aspect.
Yeah. Well, I don't want it to sound too like, I don't know the word in English.
Out there.
Yeah, but I think there's something I am connected to, a higher
consciousness
thing.
or.
Yeah. And I am able to express it through my art and my music, but there is something higher, something, that comes from, I do actually feel connected to that. I was giving this channel or this voice to express what I do, but I feel myself, I'm connected to something above me or something like that wants to go through me. Without making it sound too, what
out
I mean.
there, yeah. No, but I find that fascinating because the scientists Watson and Crick who discovered DNA, they thought of the double helix in a dream. That they thought, this is something that's come to me. Yes, it's part of the process of all their work and put things together. But in a dream, the double helix, this DNA, this complex. It's just amazing. And at time and time again, it doesn't matter if it's a scientist, an artist, what have you, if it's a creative or if it's scientific. I've read time and time again, they sometimes inspired by sort of almost a collective consciousness, a higher consciousness, and they become the conduit. They become the path in which what they produce is something for the world, but it's obviously it's part of them, but I just wanted to ask you that because I read it time and time and time again, and I just find that kind of fascinating. I don't think neuroscience has kind of like tapped into that depth of creativity.
Yeah, that's interesting, but I think maybe we feel we have a kind of a mission to express what we feel, what's there, and it comes from I think that's very cool to be in touch with something higher, above, and then when we do music together on stage, we are connected in that the heart of this. We communicate there, but we are not sure really what it is. But we know we are connected to something that's more than we are.
I find that fascinating. Just a couple of last questions. I'm very respectful of your time, Silje. Like when you're on stage and you're in a flow with the other band members or the other musicians, are you like almost in a bubble? Like you guys, like the external world kind of melts away in your own internal world. I'm not a musician by any things, and I'm completely ignorant. So that's where my question is coming from, a level of ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
What does it feel like when you're on stage and you're just in the flow with the other musicians?
Yeah, that's it depends. Sometimes it can be more like I feel I'm on stage and I know what's going on here, and I can see this guy's looking at his watch, and this guy's like, oh, he's going to, I can sometimes just be, doing it and not feeling so. But then there are other parts of the concert where we go to, higher space, and we forget about the surroundings. We can't expect to be there all the time, but then that is the intense experience of doing something that makes it all worth it. And then we also feel that the audience is there with us. And I think that to be live with the audience, then we are also colored by the audience, So what we do at that moment, it also reflects back through the audience. So we're all together in some moment of something higher and something bigger. And I think we all need those beautiful moments in life where we forget just that we are a person, but we're lifted a little bit higher into a little touch of magic.
That's so well said. That's such an astute point. I think that's a brilliant place to end this conversation. It's on a high. I feel there's that sort of flow in our conversation. So I really appreciate your time, Silje. It's been an awesome conversation, and to explore someone of, the pinnacle of what she does in a career, and to understand the mindset and understand how you build that mindset and how it adds resilience and allows you to buffer success and adversity and challenges and uncertainty. I think there's a lot there that our listeners can adopt, even if their parents teaching their kids or at whatever age, I guess.
I hope so. But I have been thinking a lot about this, the social media and the input that is so intense and that is not human, because it's too much information for us, and we're not supposed to deal with all this information. So I think our minds get very stressed and easily also get bored because we're used to very short, like fun, push a button and you don't have to deal with your own whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to be a creative person, you need to be in touch with a calm place in you, where what is it that you want to express. And if I'm not in touch with it, how can I express it? So I really think that we need to just turn off the phone to be able to do it. Because even me and you are used to now being interrupted, although we know what it's like not to be. Even you and me have to do that,
Very true. I see myself going automatically to my phone sometimes. It's like, and then I catch myself. It's like, and I'm just like scrolling mindlessly. And I think, what am I doing?
And what's the joy you get from it? Really?
That, I think it's well said, but I think you also said a very salient point, is that you and I, we have the context of what life was like without that. So we can reflect back of, okay, and we can go back to those earlier times when there wasn't the social media, where, as you said, you've developed this sort of inner shell, this inner self, where your inner creativity comes, and that's your self-worth. It's the place you find refuge when everything else is crazy. It's that quiet place, that tranquil place where you can find respite and such. And I think that's so important. And, I encourage parents out there to help their kids, to try to find that, to cultivate that. I think it's such it will serve them so well into the future when life gets crazy and we're not around as parents anymore. And they are, obviously independent and they have to figure out life themselves.
But it's difficult I think. I also have a young 14-year-old, and it's very difficult to, they're into another world. Well, they have the phone everywhere, and I keep saying it, but that's another subject. It's a challenge for us and for them.
Well, Silje, thank you very much for your time today, sharing your mindset, the DNA of your mindset.
Thank you. I hope I was able to express it in English, but you always sum it up in a very beautiful way. I wish I said that. Oh, that was great. Vibrance. I like the word vibrance. Yeah. That's a cool word.
Well, that's definitely what you are. You're very vibrant. I appreciate it. But thank you, Silje, very much for your time today.
Nice to talk to you, Jason. It was a really nice conversation, and you made me, sometimes we don't know when people ask a question about what do you do because it's been an intuitive thing in life. It's not that we know that, now I do this and that. It's just an intuitive flow going. And we know when the flow is low, and it's not but it's always like a flow inside. Now my flow is very I'd like to go to my piano now. That was so nice. You made me inspired, actually.
Well, if it's in that hit song, you can hint towards the podcast there, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Silje. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Jason.
Bye for now, Silje. Bye.
Bye.
As we wrap up today's brilliant discussion with Silje, our journey through the landscape of creativity and resilience finds us reflecting on the essence of artistic exploration and personal growth. Silje's insights in the second part of our conversation deepen our understanding of creativity, not just as an act, but as a lifestyle, emphasizing the importance of feeding the mind with diverse inputs and allowing the subconscious the freedom to innovate. She advocates for embracing moments of stillness and boredom as integral parts of the creative process, highlighting how these periods can serve as fertile ground for growth and inspiration. Silje's approach to navigating pressure and stress focus on incremental progress than overwhelming goals, underscores the value of trusting the journey. Her perspective on success is both refreshing and grounding. She celebrates achievements while remaining committed to the creative process, reminding us that the true joy of artistry lies in creation itself rather than its accolades. Perhaps most profoundly, Silje touches on the mystical aspects of creativity, suggesting that at times artists merely are the conduits for something greater, channeling creativity from a source beyond themselves. This notion, coupled with her experience of flow and the transcendent connection between artist, audience, and the moment, invites us to consider the deeper, almost sacred dimension of the creative work. As we wrap up this episode, Silje's narrative serves as a powerful reminder of the beauty and the complexity of the creative path, whether through the discipline of daily practice, the courage to face the ebb and flow of success and setback, or the openness to being a vessel for creativity. Silje exemplifies the spirit of resilience and the boundless potential of the human mind. And to you, dear listener, I hope this episode inspires you to embrace your creative instincts, trust the process, and find your own rhythm in the vast symphony of life. Remember, the magic of creativity is not just in the outcome, but in the courage to pursue it every step of the way. And a personal thank you to you, Silje, for your soft-spoken, reflective, humble, and vibrant nature. I truly do appreciate the time you've given to us, sharing your vulnerabilities and your mindset. So thank you, Silje. I very much appreciate it. It was a brilliant conversation. Folks, it's conversations like this that I continue to do this podcast. I'm humbled by listening to others, to sharing their experiences, by hearing their stories, hearing their narratives, because I don't know everything. I'm far from knowing everything. I learned so much. And I hope these episodes do the same for you. Well, folks, if you were inspired today, please share this with your network on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X, whatever it may be, because it truly helps me spread the word. So thank you for showing up for another week, and until next time we continue this conversation, keep well, keep strong, and speak soon.